Most of what I have to say when I get in front of my computer and turn on the camera and start recording these little chats is just reflections of the stuff I'm dealing with, the stuff that's going on in my life, the lessons I'm learning, the books I'm reading, the thoughts I'm struggling with, the challenges I'm experiencing, or the great, wondrous joys I've encountered. I don't purport to be anyone's guru. I do purport to be a observer of life and someone who tries to experience life in a meaningful way. And I think what I mean by that is I try to live with intention. And intention is an interesting word. We talk about the purpose driven life or the purpose driven this, that, or the other, the purpose driven business. We talk about intention or purpose, and we do so sometimes in vague terms, almost like it's just, discipline. What does that mean? I did a little research, and intention comes in part from a Latin word. Intentio is the Latin word. I'm not pronouncing it correctly because I don't speak Latin, but intentio is the best way I can pronounce the Latin word, which strictly defined means a stretching purpose. And I like that. I think sometimes we get this notion that living with intention or living on purpose or um, practicing those things is going to just be this really great wake up in the morning. And I know what I'm going to do today. I'm going to eat right and I'm going to exercise and I'm going to go through my difficult tasks first. I'm going to, as it's metaphorically stated, eat the frog. I keep this little thing right in front of my desk to remind me to do hard things first. And I don't always do it. Intention is this stretching, purposeful endeavor. And the stretching part is the part I don't want you or me to miss. It's intended to take us to another level. It's intended to take us a little deeper inside. It's intended to take us to a challenging place that maybe we've never been before, and maybe we think we aren't quite capable of accomplishing. But I think it's in that stretching purpose, that willingness to go beyond the borders of normal or safe or convenient. I think that's where life really gets cool. I think that's where life really gets beautiful, meaningful, joyful, painful. It also is where life becomes our teacher. Now, in order to receive anything from the lessons that life wants to teach us, we have to start with what I think are a couple of key things. We have to start with vulnerability, and I think we have to start with empathy. In order to be receptive to the things that life wants to teach us, we have to be vulnerable. We have to be willing, at least to ourselves in front of the mirror, to be honest about where we're at and what we're dealing with and who we are. And if we can do that, and then hopefully and ideally find one or two or three people in our lives that we trust enough to be vulnerable with, and yes, you will get burned if you do that, but eventually you will find those kindred spirits, those trusting souls that you connect with on a superhuman level, and they become the closest people in your life. Vulnerability will be the key to getting you there, and it's no escaping it. It's a bit like love. You can't experience love unless you're willing to take the risk of love, and in doing so, you'll get hurt. So, in pursuing deep connection, you'll get hurt, whether it's with yourself or with others. But it begins with vulnerability. I think it expands with empathy, especially when it comes to connecting with other people. And it leads me into what you've heard me talk about before, which are kind of my three C's: cooperation, collaboration, and connectedness. I think when we approach life with intention, with that stretching purpose, we begin to be transformed by life. We begin to view life differently. We begin to view challenges and obstacles and difficulties and wondrous joys and momentous occasions differently. We view them through a different lens of intention of what is life trying to teach me, because I know this joyful moment that I'm experiencing right now, if I'm honest, I know it might be gone tomorrow or the day after or the day after that. I know circumstances will change. I experienced this recently just watching my investments in the stock market. I was having a ball for a few weeks there. And now all of a sudden, I'm not. It's a whole different world. And it'll come back, and I'm not panicking. And that's just the way the market operates. It's also the way life operates. You want to know how emotion and joy and fear and pain and sorrow and elation, and you want to know how that's going to flow in your life? Watch the stock market. But if you live your life with intention, it will also follow the pattern of the stock market. Over time, that's what it does. And it's got massive peaks and valleys if you look at it in a granular level. But over time, it rises. And over time, your joy, your sense of purpose, your connection with life and humanity will rise. Cooperation, collaboration, and connection, to me, that's the stuff of life. You approach your encounters because you're living with intention, because you're living with stretching purpose. You approach life with a spirit of cooperation. Hey, I'm here to cooperate. I'm here to say yes. And then as you practice saying yes to more and more things, and we all know that doesn't mean you actually say yes and do everything that comes your way, but it's that optimist mindset, that abundance mindset that doesn't worry about what could go wrong. It just says, wow, that's a cool idea. Let's think about that. Let's talk about that. Yes, I'm willing to entertain that thought. That spirit of cooperation often leads you into a tribe of people. You know, the great old quote, your vibe attracts your tribe. You have this spirit of cooperation, you live your life that way. All of a sudden, you're drawn into collaborative relationships. So that's my second C, collaboration. And in these collaborative relationships, you might not look the same, you might not vote the same, you might be from different ethnicities, speak different languages, be from different socioeconomic stratas. It doesn't matter, because you're not drawn together by those outward things by which we sort ourselves through difference. You're drawn together by this commonality that you believe that life is got good stuff in store for you. You're willing to say yes, and you believe that other people have contribution to make to your life. And so you collaborate. And with cooperation and the spirit that it breeds, it draws you into collaboration. And through collaboration, we are given great opportunities to connect. And connection is the stuff of life. I'm going to rant longer today than I typically do, but it's this thing that is burdening me. We are in political silly season once again. The problem here in America is political silly season never really ends. It goes on and on and on. And as Brene Brown says, and I've shared before, we have sorted ourselves into groups. And it's us versus them, and me versus you, and R versus D, and conservative versus liberal, and husky versus cougar, and all of those things by which we sublimely or severely sort ourselves into groups. And then we start casting stones or lobbing grenades or shooting bullets. And wars have begun in such manners, and relationships have fractured in such ways. And we do so because we are completely preoccupied with difference. And here's the little gem I want to give to you today and to me. This is the reality I'm faced every time I'm inclined to focus on difference. If you look at the mass of humanity all over the globe, not just here in the United States, but all over the globe, look at humanity. And you can start categorizing all the ways in which we're different. Of course you can. We look different. We eat different things. We speak different languages. We have different practices and cultures and rhythms and rhymes. But the simple reality is we are far more alike than we are different. Genetically, scientifically, this is a fact. We are connected by our humanity. We are humans. And our humanity is a greater likeness than any of our differences can be different. And if we can step back from the ways in which we define and sort ourselves in our difference and step forward into identifying as humans and our humanity as the great thing that connects us to one another, I promise you we can solve so many of the problems we face today as a society, as a culture, as a globe. We can, because we are humans and we are connected at that fundamental level. And it's far more significant than the color of our skin and the language we speak and how we vote now in November. We are connected by our humanity. And when we identify that and recognize that, we start to move forward with intention, with stretching purpose, because our differences will come up and they'll cause challenges in the friendship or relationship or the board or the nonprofit or the endeavor we're trying to pursue or the great thing we want to accomplish. But then we have to step back again, look in the mirror, and remind ourselves that, yeah, I'm different. And part of that difference is me, but I'm connected with these people around me by our humanity. And in that, we can be world changers. We can be issue changers. We can be overcomers and achievers like never before. And most of all, we can experience love and connection on a human level that can transform the world. Too Pollyanna-ish for you? Whatever. Give it a shot and see if it doesn't change your life. To you and your success as you define it. Have an amazing day.